a good amount of time, I thought that I was just lazy. I thought that I just lost the spark. I thought that I lost that thing inside of me that wants to really fucking take over, that wants to achieve things, that wants to do things, not like I lost all of it, but just like the fire wasn't there, like it is right here. And I want to tell you, and I want to share with you that if you feel a similar feeling, like maybe when you were a kid, or maybe when at some point you had these dreams, you had these aspirations, you had these ideas of like, fuck, I really want to do this, I really need this, you had this fire inside of you, and it kind of dimmed down, and you kind of lost it, and now you feel like you might just be lazy, like you might just be slacking off, like you might just not be fulfilling your potential, you might not be taking those steps, taking that action. But the reality of what's going on is that you're probably just like me, playing small. You may or may not be thinking small and zapping all of that energy, all of that fire, all of that motivation out of you for that reason. Because like the big old Tony Robbins says, if you're not motivated, your goals aren't big enough. And this is something that I had to really face myself, because if you don't know my story, when I was very young, I did extremely well in business, okay? I first was on track to become a pro kickboxer, got injured, and then I got into business after, doing some other things for a couple of years. And at 18, I dropped out of high school 3 months before my exam, final exams. And obviously, my mom wasn't particularly happy with that, but I was barely at the house anyway already, okay? So sleeping on couches in a couple months, it took me to get to a normal income, like 3-4K a month, and then I left my country immediately. Fucking piece of shit country, the Netherlands. That's besides the point. And after that, I had a real hunger, or at that point, I had a real hunger, had a real desire, deep desire to achieve the things, a real fire inside of me, right? And that fire was on, just like this TV is on 24/7 at the office of my new business. Okay, and basically after that, I kept working at it, and I really achieved a good milestone of making 100 grand a month. Okay, for a while, and after I'd achieved that, that had been the goal for me. That had been the objective, the thing that I was after for such a long time. But when I hit it, all that motivation, right, somehow just kind of like dropped, because I basically was after this one goal for a long time, and then I finally achieved it, and then I just didn't know what to do anymore. And I started looking for fulfillment in different areas, and I started getting confused as to what I wanted to do. I started getting confused as to what my purpose was. I started getting confused if I was in the right business, all these different things, and I started overthinking everything, and I really lost everything that I built. Okay, and I got written up in the Dutch media. I got a fucking documentary show on the Dutch version of Netflix that I was featuring. I was or starring in, rather. I, traveled the world. I stayed in the sickest places, all of that kind of stuff. I had a worldwide network. I know all the biggest guys on the internet from back in the day, but I was the one who, after that point, stupidly enough, fell off, right? And it was because I didn't set another goal. I didn't keep pushing. I didn't keep growing, and I got just very confused because of that reason. And I started shifting my focus, and I started getting confused, and I don't want the same for you on your journey to success. And I'm, as I've said in previous videos, now starting again at 26, right? Trying to not just, and here's the key of this video, not just to regain the success that I had before, but trying to regain success on a much bigger level. And that is my point. Because for me, because I had achieved these things back in the day, for years after that, we're talking, I achieved this before I was 21. I had made $2 million or whatever before 21, just under it. And, this means that for me, getting to 100K a month again or whatever, it was like, just not that motivating, not that inspiring, and this was my goal for a long time, but I was like, just not really excited about it, because I'd already done those kinds of things, right? And to be fair, I spoke to a friend, and this friend said to me, and I had this thought at different occasions, but it really hit me, and And he told me like, yeah, dude, like if that doesn't excite you, but like, why don't you, if that's not that different to you, if that's not that crazy to you, that cool to you, whatever, that doesn't lit you up, why don't you get a new goal? Because obviously now I can't, my urgency and my motivation and my leverage used to come from the fact that I was like this was like 80% of my motivation, which was like, hey, I want to hit this goal before I'm 19. I want to hit this goal before I'm 20. I want to be a millionaire before I'm 20, whatever, right? And then obviously I just mentioned what I actually achieved, but that being said, that was my leverage, right? And so now I'm just kind of in this in-between purgatory where I'm like, okay, I'm 26, I've done some things in the past. Who gives a fuck about what you've done in the past, okay? But I'm just sketching it out so you have the full context here. But anyways, that being said, okay, cool, fine, right? Disregard what you've done in the past. But that being said, then now I'm kind of in this period where, okay, well, if I do this before 27, it doesn't have the same effect. And he said to me, well, like, listen, dude, great, okay, fine. That's your situation. Why don't you make a goal to make 100 million before you're 30, right? As an example. Obviously, that's a very outrageous goal, but like we get the point, right? Make 100 mil maybe before you're 35, right? That's 9 years out. That's achievable. I'm just saying, when he said that to me, I was like, well, shit, right? And I'd thought of this on different occasions, but it was like, that's a really, really good point. And, that's one of the reasons that I started getting into this new business that I'm in right now, where it's a more slow burn business. I used to be in the online education business. I had a marketing agency, and then I had a consulting business, and then I had an online education business when I was scaling up with thousands of customers and everything like that. And then, that's a very high cash flow business, but not something you're ultimately going to sell for a very big check, right? It's a very up and down business as well, right? But that being said, now I'm in a business that's a little slower burn, but it's more sustainable, and it's actually something that you can work yourself into an exit check. And if you want to know more about my business, it's not the topic of this video. You can check out the link in the description. I don't sell anything. It's just, if you want to work with me, then you can, maybe. And basically I explained to you what the business is and that we're always hiring sales reps, but it's really more of a business than it is a job, okay? That being said, I have a life insurance sales agency. I'm at the office now. And basically what we do is we sell life insurance, and how I make money is I build a team and I get them to make money, and I make a percentage off of that, right? And then ultimately I can sell that book of business, all the contracts that me and my whole team have sold, right? Where there's residuals on every contract, I can sell that to private equity, including the agency that I sell, for a big old lump sum check, right? And that's gonna get me to that 9 figures, okay? And that's my aim now. That's where I wanna go. Now, obviously I'm taking it step by step, but that's the grander vision. You always need a grand vision, and then you need a goal, right? So when I say these things of like, hey, have big goals, hey, think big, and I'm talking to myself here, okay? This is advice for me. I'm not sitting here saying that I have all the answers, saying like, oh yeah, I'm so great, because quite frankly, I think I'm really not. I think I've made a lot of mistakes, but I'm trying to talk to myself in these videos to essentially coach myself and to deepen the concepts and ideas that I want to live by, and to put it out into the internet so that maybe it can also help someone else when they're confused and going through these various thoughts and they're not sure what the fuck to make of it. So with that being said, I have that, for me, that grander vision now of like, hey, this actually can go here to something way beyond from where I've ever been. And that really pulls me, that really excites me. And then I have in between, I have those goal steps. Like you can't just have this and then just only be focused on this and say, hey, within 1 year, I want to be worth 100 million, right? Because then you're going to really steal the 100 mil in 10 years from yourself. Because we always overestimate what we can do in a year. We grossly underestimate what we can do in 10 years, 5 years, whatever. And so that is the combination, the magic combination, having that short-term 1 year goal, 6 month goal and stuff like that you're working towards, and have that grander vision that really pulls you and excites you. And so my point in this video is that if you've been feeling these things like a lack of fire inside of you, you're probably just playing small. You're probably just in a game where you either have the reality or the perception that you can't win that big, right? You probably have that idea in your head, or it's the reality, right? That you're thinking like, hey, the max I could do here is make like 30K a month and work all day, right, for that. Well, it's not gonna be really exciting if you're someone who wants more, right? And so then obviously you're gonna be lazy. You're gonna not be that motivated because the payout isn't there. Personally, guys, I'm a very fucking hard worker, but I am also a hard worker who wants a big payout from that, okay? Now, I'll be totally willing to work hard until I see that. Like, I'm not saying that, like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously, you gotta put in work to be able to see something down the line. But I'm just saying, I wanna be in a game that I can win big. Like, guys, a very simple analogy is if you're gonna go to a party, right? And now you're at this party and there's girls there, but there's just no girl that's pretty. There's just no fucking chicks that are hot, right? You're not really gonna be motivated to talk to anybody because what the fuck are you gonna do with it, right? But now you're going to a different party and there's all girls that are all fucking nines, you know what I mean? They're all fucking super hot. Well, you're gonna be pretty motivated to have a good time at this party and to fucking stay there for a long time and to talk to everybody because there's a fucking payout and it's worth it for you, right? Like I had a guy that I spoke to from the other perspective, right? Where he was telling me that like, he was like actually going out and then, he was like meeting girls or whatever, but they were nowhere near his level. Like guy actually does really well. I won't actually say more details, but guy actually does really, really well financially and everything like that. And in other areas too. And, he's just like, yeah, then I'll go out, but like, then I won't be as motivated for business. I'm like, listen, your goals aren't big enough, like you just aren't excited because there's no payout for you. He's also living in a very subpar city. So even if he does very well within that city, and for this particular individual, the social result is very important, right? So you got to analyze and focus for yourself, like what is the results that for you are very important, right? So for this particular fella, like the social results, like having the most beautiful women, the most beautiful girlfriend, whatever it may be for him, okay? By his side, whatever. And in the particular place where he is, that's just not really realistic. There's just not that much out there, right? And so if he becomes way more successful, that doesn't, within his bubble, equate way more results in that department. And he's stealing all that motivation from himself, right? So this can even go as far as just being in a smaller city, being in a smaller minded circle, whatever it may be, that's important to you. You got to look at that so that you're actually going to see like, oh, there's way better results within this department that motivates me really. And you got to just be honest with yourself about what it is that motivates you. And then you got to attach that to the goal and the vision that you now have and the next steps for you, because that's going to allow you to unleash that fire, to unleash that motivation. And that's all that I'm doing for myself. Once again, starting over at 26 in a brand new business in the financial services space, life insurance specifically, which is boring as hell, but it fucking works, right? Because everybody needs it. So anyway, with that being said, guys, again, if you're like, for example, also guys, if you have a girlfriend that's just not that high quality, you're just not going to be that interested. You're not going to want to spend time with her that much because she's just not good enough for you. You're not going to like call her enough. You're not going to like do enough for her. You're not going to be giving her enough attention when you're with her. You're not going to be as present with her. I'm just giving an analogy in a different area of life that we can all understand, fellas, okay? Very simple solution. The girl isn't on your level. You're not attracted enough to the girl. There's this movie that's called He's Just Not He's Just Not That Into You, something like this, okay? And the movie is about, I actually haven't seen the movie, but some girl told me about it. The movie is about like, there's all these theories that women make about guys of like, why isn't he doing this? Why isn't he doing that? He's just not that fucking into you. And you're just not that fucking into your roles. It's really as simple as that. You're not that into it. It's not exciting enough for you. You're not associating it to your highest values, which could be, once again, freedom, material things. It could be social things, people. It could be your family, like whatever, religion, like whatever it is for you that are your highest values. Your goals are currently not associating enough to those values. And you don't see how those could be grandiose within the goal and the lane that you're in right now. If I was in a lane, right, where I could make maximum 30K a month, for example, and then I'd have to show up every day full-time, whatever, it's not gonna fucking motivate me because I can't grow, I can't achieve the things that I really want to achieve, right? And now this may sound overly fucking simplistic, but usually the truth is hidden in plain sight, and the truth is extremely simple. And I'm just telling you this because even I really forgot about this. I knew this when I started out, but we all get a fucking ego, don't we? We all get a fucking ego of like, oh, now I've done this. I'm above this self-development shit now, right? I'm above my morning routine. I'm above whatever it is, okay? And I personally went through that and I was like, I'm above this or whatever. And, I'm not focused on it as much. And then guess what happens? You start running into self-sabotage because you're not using your awareness to catch patterns early and to notice that, hey, why am I actually feeling not as motivated, not as dialed, not as having as much of that fire inside of me. Why? Okay, because what do I really want? What excites me truthfully? Okay, what would actually excite me? Asking yourself those questions and sitting with yourself on a Sunday night. It's currently a Sunday night in the office here. It's nice and quiet, just the way that I love it. But anyway, that being said, taking that time with you, talking to a good friend that really knows you, who's not someone that's going to bullshit you, whatever it may be, or even getting a coach, right? Like, might really help you, to be honest. And then dialing in. You want a bigger goal, you want a bigger payout, getting into a new vehicle, or changing your perception about the current vehicle that you're in. Maybe it's your perception that's the problem. Maybe your perception is that it's not possible. It is possible, but maybe your perception isn't that it isn't possible for you because of where you grew up, because of where you live, because of this, because of whatever. Because you think that you can't do it, because you're not handsome enough, because you're, like me, because you're not good enough of a speaker, because you're not got an accent, whatever the fuck it is. You got to eliminate those limiting beliefs because you're thinking small, and that's playing small. And if you want to be fully engaged, you want to be fully playing big, you got to shift that, and you got to go into attack mode where you think like, damn, this is a real payout. Your goals are so big, your goals are big enough to where you are really excited by them, right? To where you're like, holy shit, I fucking can't even go to sleep think about this because I really want this, right? And that you got to combine that with the things that you want, and you got to be honest to be honest about that. You got the status you want, the people you want, what kind of a lifestyle you want, right? And that you got to dial in. And if you do all of that, you think bigger, you're going to be motivated enough. And then from there on, think it's possible for you, because obviously otherwise it still doesn't do shit. And for that, personally, right, look at examples of people who are doing, there's nothing as powerful as examples, okay? Like, looking at examples of people who have done these grandiose things in the business model that you're wanting to do it in, that's what's really gonna give you that motivation, because now you have the thing that you truly want and the certainty that you can get it if you commit yourself to it. And that obviously is a 1 + 1 = motherfucking motivation, all right? So I hope that helps. People talk shit about motivation all the time, but at the end of the day, you need an underlying drive for where you want to go, right? You can discipline and push yourself where you want, but if you just don't think that it's possible for you, or if you just don't think that it's going to be worth it, you're still not going to do it. If I give you a lottery ticket, and I'll handle this, if I give you a fucking lottery ticket and I tell you, listen, I'm going to give you $1 million, $10 million, whatever, right? If you come and buy this lottery ticket from me for 10 grand, and you come to Scottsdale right now to pick it up, whatever, right? And if you believe for fucking 99% that this is the winning lottery ticket, you're very sure of that, then you're gonna come to me, you're gonna buy the ticket, and you're gonna cash it in, right? But if you're like 90%, 99% sure that I'm full of shit, which I most likely am, then you're not gonna take the same actions. Now, it's a very, again, oversimplified example, but that's how it works, right? You gotta make an analogy in something that's really dumb, stupid, and simple, and then you're gonna actually see how you're doing that dumb, stupid, and simple thing in your own life with your focus and with your mentality. So your thoughts shape your reality, and your thoughts gotta be geared towards something that truly is what you deep down want. That's it for me, okay, guys? I'm just on a journey, restarting at 26, starting this new business. As you can see, just like all y'all are trying to become successful. So that being said, if you want to know more about my specific business, you can check the link in the description. It's not a course, not mentorship. It's just, if you want to work for me and you want to be in the same business, we can look at doing that. And with that being said, I hope you become successful and get everything you want, you truly want, and I will see you in the next one.